Thank you, Tara. Good afternoon, everyone. It is a great pleasure to be invited by the American Chamber to share with you all in this webinar on the government relief measures against COVID-19. Well, admittedly, it is not a very easy task to cover everything related to this topic in 20 minutes. So inevitably, I will have to be quite selective and just highlight those measures which are more directly related to business. It seems to me that we are facing a minor technical problem here in getting our PPT on the screen for everybody.
That's all right. We're a patient.
Technician is now in a room to try to fix the problem.
Okay. So while we're waiting, Jimmy, I mean, tell me how long it's taken for this whole thing to come together and how many different sectors you're going to talk about today.
Wow, a bit more than 10 sectors. Some measures are obviously applicable to business in general, and then there are certain sector-specific measures which I will also highlight, which may involve some 10 different sectors.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of details in the whole presentation, but in the interest of time, I can only highlight the major measures, and then hopefully during the Q&A, I can address some further questions that you may have. But in case I can't answer your question, which is also quite likely because of the amount of detail involved, I will always be happy to follow up with the audience separately after the webinar. Okay, it seems that we are getting there. So I hope you can now see our.
There we go. Yippee.
Hi, good. Thank you. So maybe let me start by setting the scene first. Actually, since February this year, the Hong Kong government has already pledged altogether 287 billion Hong Kong dollars. That's about 10% of our GDP through the counter-cyclical relief package in the year 2020-21 budget, as well as the first and second round of the anti-epidemic fund, in order to help our businesses and citizens weather the storm of COVID-19. And what I would like to do today is hopefully to summarize for you those relief measures most related to business, including those aimed at, number one, providing direct and immediate support to those sectors which are most affected by COVID-19. And number two, easing cash flow of enterprises in general. And number three, preserving jobs for our people. First of all, in terms of sector-specific relief measures, the first round of the anti-epidemic fund focuses on those sectors which have been most negatively affected under the pandemic, especially tourism, F&B, and retail. And then the second round of the fund provides further support to these sectors, but also extends its coverage to include some additional sectors like education and financial services, for example. By now, Some subsidies have been disbursed, some are still open for application, and for some, we are still waiting for further details to be announced. But in my upcoming slides, I have listed out for each type of subsidy, who is the administrator, the contact information, and the application deadline, if that's applicable or available. For the tourism sector, by now, the government should have provided a one-off subsidy of $80,000 for each licensed travel agent. The second round of relief will provide further subsidy for travel agents ranging from $20,000 to $200,000, depending on the number of their staff members. At the same time, each staff member of travel agents and each tour guide will also get $5,000 monthly for 6 months. And each tour bus driver will get $10,000 on a one-off basis. For guest house operators in Hong Kong, they should have already received their subsidies. For hotels, $400,000 will be given to each hotel with more than 100 staff members, and $300,000 for each smaller hotel. For cruise business, the operator of the Kai Tak cruise terminal will enjoy exemption of rents and management fees for 6 months, while cruise lines will get refund of berth deposits for canceled ship calls. For the catering sector, many food license holders have already received the first round of subsidies. The second round of relief will provide further subsidy to restaurants, in particular, licensed catering outlets, to be exact, ranging from $250,000 to $2.2 million, depending on the size of their premises, and also subject to the conditions that these operators undertake not to make their staff redundant during the next 6 months, and also at least 80% of the subsidy will be used for paying wages. Any restaurant operator can opt for either this subsidy or the employment support scheme, which is another wage subsidy scheme for general business that I will talk about later on. So they can, at the same time, apply for both. And for F&B operators at karaoke, bars, pubs, nightclubs, and public markets, they will get a one-off subsidy of $50,000. For the retail sector, another very hard-hit sector, obviously, by now the government should have provided a one-off subsidy of $80,000 for each retail shop in Hong Kong. For the convention and exhibition industry, the government will subsidize 50% of participation fee for local SMEs to participate in HKTDC's exhibitions and major conventions for 1 year, counting from the time when HKTDC resumes their events again. And also the government will subsidize 100% of rental for organizers of exhibitions and international conventions at HKCEC and Asia World Expo, also for 1 year. For the creative sector, our cinema operators are getting $100,000 for each screen they operate, and PMQ is also getting $25 million for upkeeping their operation and supporting their tenants. Printing and publishing enterprises will be subsidized to participate in the next Hong Kong Book Fair organized by the HKTDC, subject to a maximum of $100,000. And then for the transportation sector, our taxi and red minibus drivers will get $6,000 per month for 6 months. Registered owners of taxi, red minibus, and other kinds of vehicles will also get a one-off subsidy of $30,000 per vehicle. And the government is also going to reimburse 100% of the repair and maintenance cost and insurance premium for 6 months for certain public transport operators, including franchise bus, ferry, and tram. To support airlines, the government will provide a one-off subsidy of $1 million for each large aircraft registered in Hong Kong and $200,000 for each small aircraft. And then for aviation support services and cargo facilities operators, bigger companies with more than 100 staff will receive a one-off subsidy of $3 million. Smaller companies will get $1 million. For the real estate sector, a cash subsidy equivalent to 24-month license fee will be provided to licensed estate agents, and each registered construction worker will get $7,500. Certain construction-related enterprises such as constructors, contractors, and suppliers will get either $20,000 or $10,000. For the education sector, tutorial schools will get a one-off grant of $40,000. There is support also for certain school-related service providers. In particular, catering operators will receive $80,000 for each outlet they operate. Lunchbox providers will get $10,000 for each school they supply to. And school bus drivers and nannies will get $10,000 each. And then if you happen to be a sports coach or an instructor of interest class, then you will get a one-off subsidy of $7,500. For the financial services sector, each Category B and Category C exchange participant will receive a one-off grant of $50,000, and each SFC licensed individual will receive $2,000. And of course, we need to support those businesses previously ordered to close for minimizing the risk of virus transmission. So a one-off subsidy of $100,000 will be provided for amusement game centers, commercial bathhouses, fitness centers, places of amusement, and also clubhouses. And many of these are now open for application. Please pay attention to all these deadlines. For example, for clubhouses, the deadline application for application is May 18, so it's pretty soon. Similarly, for places of public entertainment, mahjong establishments, beauty salons and spa, as well as sports and recreational facilities operators, they're also subsidized. And if you're running a beauty salon or a spa, then note that this week you can file your application, and the deadline is actually May 17. So secondly, there are some measures aimed at easing cash flow of companies. And I would like to introduce a few major ones for your reference. First of all, the SME Financing Guarantee Scheme, SFGS in short, administered by the Hong Kong Mortgage Corporation Insurance Limited, aims to help local SMEs and non-listed enterprises to obtain financing from participating lenders. Under the SFG Act, the Hong Kong Mortgage Corporation Insurance Limited provides business loan guarantee at various percentage levels for eligible enterprises. And you should contact a participating lender to apply for a loan first, and then the lender will submit the guarantee application to the Hong Kong Mortgage Corporation. The money borrowed can be used for working capital or acquiring assets and equipment. Now, the SFG Act has been enhanced. As a result, the maximum loan amount is now 18 million for the 80% guaranteed product and 8 million for 90% guaranteed product. For both products, the government is making them available also for listed companies and providing a subsidy for your interest payment up to 3%. Both of these new measures are valid for 1 year, subject to further review. Now, the special 100% loan guarantee under the SFG Act was actually first introduced by the Financial Secretary in the year 2020 to 21 budget last February, and then was further enhanced through the second round of the anti-epidemic fund last month, with the objective of alleviating employers' burden of paying wages and rents during the current crisis. And to qualify, an enterprise must have business operation for at least 3 months in Hong Kong as at December last year. And they must also have suffered at least a 30% drop in sales turnover in any month since February this year, compared with the monthly average of any quarter last year. The maximum loan amount will be the total amount of your wages and rents for 6 months, or 4 million Hong Kong, whichever is lower. Interest rate is only P minus 2.5% per year, and you don't need to repay the principal during the first year, just the interest. An application for this special 100% loan guarantee already started from the 20th of April. In fact, Invest Hong Kong, we are organizing a webinar tomorrow, particularly on this topic. And we have invited speakers from the Hong Kong Mortgage Corporation, as well as HSBC, to share more detail about the SFG Act and the 100% loan guarantee. So please feel free to join us if you are interested. Coming next, the Distance Business Program, or DBIZ program in short, is also newly set up by the Innovation and Technology Commission and administered by the Hong Kong Productivity Council. And this program provides funding support for enterprises to develop distance business through adopting IT solutions so that they may continue their business and service during the epidemic. So altogether, 12 different categories of IT solutions are covered. I suppose those areas like virtual meeting and conference tools, online business, cybersecurity solutions are probably relevant to a lot of companies. And for each IT solution, the funding ceiling is 100,000 Hong Kong dollars. And each enterprise may receive total funding up to $300,000. There are a few other means to help ease cash flow problems for our employers. For example, profits tax for the last financial year, 2019 to 20, is being reduced by 100%, subject to a ceiling of $20,000. Certain government fees or business expenses are being waived or subsidized, including rates for non-domestic property, business registration, registration fees for annual returns, electricity, water, sewage charges, and also rental concession for tenants of government premises and government land. So thirdly, in terms of job retention, the most significant measure is probably the Employment Support Scheme, ESS, worth more than $80 billion. And the idea is to provide wage subsidies for employers on condition that they undertake not to dismiss their staff during the subsidy period. And specifically, all employers who have been making MPF contributions or have set up also schemes for their employees are eligible for the ESS. The wage subsidy amount will be 50% of your employee's salary, subject to a cap of $9,000 per month. And the subsidy will be paid for 6 months to cover wages from June to November. And it will be disbursed in 2 payments, with the first payment before end of June. And in fact, just this morning, the chief executive announced in a press conference that the ESS will start receiving applications from May 25th. So please stay tuned. And also for those who are self-employed, who have an MPF account, they will receive a one-off subsidy of $7,500 under the ESS. So, well, I think I have attempted to recap the major relief measures against COVID-19 for businesses in particular. Many measures, many numbers here. Hopefully you can identify a few items here relevant to you. But in short, the government is highly committed to supporting our economy, our businesses, and our people. And we'll monitor the situation closely and, if required, implement new relief measures in a timely manner. But before I close, I would just like to recommend 2 resources to you. The first one is, of course, the government's dedicated website on COVID-19, coronavirus.gov.hk, where you can find all the details of these relief measures. I would also like to recommend you visit our Invest Hong Kong, Start Me Up Hong Kong website, which actually captures more or less all the existing funding and support schemes for businesses, many of which I can't really cover in this webinar, but will be quite useful to support your, for example, market development, technology adoption, talent development, in-house R&D, and so on. So please do take a look at our website for more details. Of course, you're always welcome to contact us directly if you need any further information or assistance. Once again, thank you very much for joining this webinar,